All right, so we're back, and today we're going deep into The Fourth Girl by Wendy Corsi Staub.
Oh, excellent choice.
Yeah, and we've got like this really great book review that I think just gets right to the heart of what makes this psychological thriller so good.
I agree.
We're going to try and like unpack, all the elements that have like captivated readers, small town secrets, that suspense, the themes of trauma, all that good stuff.
Right.
It's a lot to cover, but I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
So what like right away stood out to you?
Well, the setting, Havencliff, like how Stout sets it up. This is perfect little seaside town, you know.
Picture perfect.
Exactly, picture perfect.
Yeah.
But underneath there's this sense of unease, like something's not quite right.
Yeah, it's almost like that picture perfect image is like hiding something darker.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a facade.
It reminds me of like those classic thrillers where those idyllic towns have like huge secrets.
Oh, totally, totally.
So how does Staub like introduce that main mystery that just throws Havencliff into chaos?
Okay, so picture this. 4 girls are abducted.
Oh, wow.
3 come back, but they're forever changed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the 4th girl, she vanishes without a trace.
Oh, wow.
Years later, the case is still unsolved. It just hangs over Havencliff.
Yeah.
Like this unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
That's what drives the whole story.
It's like that missing girl is like a ghost haunting the town, haunting the survivors.
Exactly, exactly.
So tell me more about these women because it seems like they're each like dealing with the aftermath in different ways.
Absolutely. So we have Lily Mayhew.
Mm-hmm.
She's now a true crime podcaster.
Yeah.
She's driven to uncover the truth. Like obsessed.
Yeah.
But her need for answers, it feels like it comes from her own trauma,
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Harper Lane. She's battling addiction, pushing everyone away.
Oh, wow.
It's like raw, untamed struggle,
Yeah.
And finally, Grace Monroe. Outwardly, she's successful, but underneath, it's guilt, paranoia. It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
What was her role in all of this?
It sounds like Staub has created these really complex characters. I'm interested in Lily, how her podcasting ties into like her pursuit of the truth. Is it like a way for her to gain back some control?
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Her podcast, it becomes an outlet for her, a way to channel her obsession.
Yeah.
She's trying to make sense of this chaos, to find some order in a world that feels, unpredictable.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of what she went through.
Makes sense given what she does for a living.
Right.
Like she's using her podcast to like process her own trauma, maybe even help others who are dealing with similar stuff.
Exactly, exactly.
What about Harper? Her struggle with addiction, it's got to be hard.
It is. Staub doesn't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
We see how her trauma has become this self-destructive behavior.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that healing, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
It's messy, it's painful, and there's going to be wrong turns.
Right. Harper's vulnerability, I think, it's what really makes you feel for her, Like she's lost, searching for something to fill that void.
Yeah, I agree.
And then there's Grace. She seems to have it all, but clearly she's fighting her own demons.
Right.
What makes her so compelling?
It's that contrast. Outward success, but inner turmoil. She represents this idea that we can build these perfect lives, but it doesn't mean the past is gone.
Right.
The guilt, the paranoia, it suggests she's hiding something, a secret.
Okay, so we have these 3 women, all affected by this shared trauma, but coping in totally different ways.
Yeah.
So how does Stubb, bring their stories together? How does the plot move forward?
So years after the abductions, Lily starts getting these cryptic messages,
Oh, interesting.
hinting that the 4th girl might still be alive.
What?
Yeah. So the investigation is reignited, and all 3 women are pulled back into this mystery.
Wow.
They have to confront their pasts, the secrets that have haunted them for years.
That's a great way to raise the stakes and create that sense of urgency, right? It's not just about finding a missing girl. It's about these women facing their demons, seeking some kind of resolution.
Exactly, yeah.
So what about this initial setup? What did you find most captivating?
It's how Staub connects the women's personal journeys with the bigger mystery.
Okay.
The abductions, they become a catalyst for them to examine their own lives, their choices, the paths they've taken.
Yeah.
It's that blend of suspense and character development that makes the 4th girl so good, so compelling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. We've talked about the characters and that initial sense of mystery in Havencliff, but what I find really intriguing is how Staub explores those deeper themes, particularly like the lasting impact of trauma.
Right, that's where Staub's skill as a writer really comes through. She doesn't avoid those complexities. Trauma, it's not just about the physical or emotional scars. It's about how it like breaks your sense of self, your trust in others.
Yeah.
Even your perception of the world can be messed up.
I'm curious, how does she get those nuances across without it feeling too forced, too preachy?
It's subtle but powerful. Like, take Lily's relentless pursuit of the truth. It borders on obsession.
Right.
But you can sense that it comes from a need to control something, to find answers, because the world feels so chaotic, so unpredictable because of what she went through.
Right. It's like she's trying to find reason in the unreasonable.
Exactly.
Makes sense, especially given her job.
Yeah,
It's almost like she's using her podcast to deal with her own trauma, but also maybe to help others who might be dealing with similar stuff.
exactly. And then you have Harper, who embodies that more self-destructive response to trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Her addiction, it's a way to numb the pain,
Mm-hmm.
escape those memories that keep coming back.
Yeah.
It's a raw portrayal of how some people cope.
Yeah.
It doesn't glamorize addiction at all.
No, not at all. Harper's vulnerability, I think, is what makes you feel for her. It's like she's lost and she's searching for something to fill that void.
I agree. And Grace, she's almost the opposite of Harper. She's built this picture-perfect life,
Mm-hmm.
successful career, family, but there's this fragility underneath. Her guilt, her paranoia, they suggest that she's internalized that trauma differently.
Right.
Like burying it deep down and trying to stay in control.
That reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about Havencliff itself being this like microcosm of secrets, hidden truths.
Right.
How does it play into these themes of trauma and its ripple effects?
Havencliff, it's almost a character in itself. It's idyllic on the surface, but underneath, there's this current of darkness, this history of secrets and lies that have been hidden away.
Yeah.
It mirrors the character's own attempts to hide their pain, to keep up this appearance of normalcy.
So it's like a reflection of the character's struggles, almost like a collective trauma they're all trying to deal with.
Precisely. And that ties into another important theme, identity and belonging. Each of these women, they're wrestling with who they are after those abductions. They've been changed, irrevocably changed, and they're trying to figure out how to put those broken pieces of themselves back together.
That's interesting you mentioning those broken identities, especially with the title, The Fourth Girl. Is that missing girl, does she represent something more than just a victim?
Absolutely. She becomes a symbol of the missing parts within each of them.
Mm.
The part of themselves they lost or buried because of what happened. And as they search for answers about her, they're also searching for those missing pieces of themselves, trying to become whole again.
It's not just about solving a crime, it's about them putting themselves back together. Does Staub give us any insights into how they do that?
She explores justice versus revenge,
God.
which becomes this turning point.
Yeah.
As they find more clues, they're confronted with this question.
Yeah.
How far are they willing to go to get those answers? To hold someone accountable, Do they seek justice the right way? Or do they give in to revenge?
It's a huge moral dilemma.
It is.
It speaks to the complicated nature of trauma. Sometimes revenge feels like the only answer, even if it means compromising your own values.
Right.
Does Staub offer any resolution to this struggle?
She doesn't give easy answers.
Yeah.
She lets you, the reader, grapple with it.
Yeah.
You think about the different paths, the consequences,
Yeah.
It's that ambiguity that makes The Fourth Girl so thought-provoking.
We've talked about the psychological thriller aspects, but you mentioned before that it incorporates other genres.
Right.
How does Staub blend these different styles to make it such a good read?
It's the horror, the drama, even a little bit of romance that really sets it apart. You have the suspense, the chills of a thriller, the emotional depth of a drama. And then there are moments of genuine horror. It's creepy, And then there's this touch of romance that adds another layer to the characters and why they do what they do.
It sounds like she manages to balance those different elements without losing that core thriller feel.
She does.
Does she lean more on one genre than the others, or does it change throughout the story?
It shifts,
Yeah.
depending on the scene. Yeah. For example, when she describes Havencliff, those unsettling events, she uses those horror elements to create that eerie atmosphere.
Right.
But when she explores the characters' inner lives, their relationships, it becomes more dramatic, allowing for those vulnerable moments.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So by weaving those genres together, she creates something that appeals to more readers while still delivering on the promise of a psychological thriller.
Right.
I'm curious about the symbolism, too. We talked about the fourth girl representing those missing pieces of the characters, but are there any other symbols that stand out?
Well, Haven Cliff itself becomes a big symbol. On the surface, it's this haven, peaceful, but underneath, there's darkness, secrets, much like the characters themselves.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that even in the most perfect-looking places, there can be darkness lurking beneath.
It's like the town is a metaphor for the human mind,
Right.
with its hidden depths and complexities. It's like Staub is saying we all have our own haven cliffs inside of us, those parts we keep hidden from the world.
Exactly.
Before we go to the last part of our deep dive, is there a specific scene or moment that really sums up the fourth girl for you?
There's this scene where Lily, Harper, and Grace are all in Lily's podcast studio.
Okay.
They're listening to an old recording about the abductions, and you can feel that shared trauma, that unspoken pain that connects them.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that while they each experienced it differently, they're all connected by this shared wound.
It speaks to the power of shared experiences, even those born out of something awful. It's in those moments of connection that's where we can find comfort and strength. I'm excited to hear your thought-provoking question for our listeners as we head into the final part.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back, still diving deep into the fourth girl. We've uncovered this chilling mystery. We've looked at these complex characters, explored these really thought-provoking themes. It's been quite a ride.
It has. It's been a real journey, from Haven Cliff with its creepy atmosphere to those moments where the characters are just so vulnerable. The fourth girl really gets to you.
Yeah, it definitely does. As we're wrapping things up, I'm just curious, your overall thoughts on the book. What makes it, stand out from other psychological thrillers?
For me, it's how Staub blends genres. Yeah, it's a thriller, but it's also got that touch of horror, the drama. It just creates this really layered experience.
Yeah.
And she doesn't shy away from those tough questions, like about trauma, identity, justice. It stays with you, even after you finished it.
I agree. It really does stay with you. It makes you think about your own experiences, how you see things. For those who haven't read The Fourth Girl yet, what would you say? Why should they pick this book up?
If you want a thriller that keeps you guessing, The Fourth Girl delivers. The mystery unfolds perfectly. Each new thing you learn adds to the puzzle. But what really makes it special is that emotional depth. You care about these characters, what they're going through, how they try to heal.
And we can't forget about the setting, Haven Cliff, right? With its perfect surface and those dark secrets, it's almost like another character.
Right.
It reminds you that things aren't always what they seem, even in those picture-perfect places.
Yeah. And Staub's writing, it pulls you in. She creates this creepy atmosphere, but she also isn't afraid to show those raw, emotional moments. That's what makes the characters feel so real.
It sounds like The Fourth Girl is a must-read for anyone who loves a well-written thriller with some real heart. It'll keep you entertained, make you think, maybe even challenge how you see the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes it such a powerful, memorable book. It's a reminder that even when things are dark, hope and resilience can still win out.
Before we sign off, I know you have that thought-provoking question for our listeners.
I do.
What is it?
So, as you're finishing The Fourth Girl, think about this. What if you were one of those characters going back to Haven Cliff after all those years? How would you be different? What scars would you still have? What would it take for you to really find peace?
That's a heavy question. It reminds us that healing, it's a process, not a finish line. Sometimes you have to face the places and memories that haunt you to really move on.
Exactly. It's about finding the courage to face your past, accept those scars, and take back your life.
Well, everyone, that wraps up our deep dive into The Fourth Girl. We hope you enjoyed exploring Wendy Corsi Staub's amazing thriller.
We hope you pick up a copy and experience it for yourself. You won't regret it.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deep.